What's up, you guys, and welcome back to another episode of the Call Me Thursday podcast. You are here with your best girl, Sarah, and I'm here with my best girl, Sav. How's it going, sister?
Hi, everyone. It's going well over here. I am almost packed for wedding week because I am on a plane to Birmingham, starting Birmingham. I was trying to make it a
I'm
word
just
from
going
the
with it.
toast lingo. And here we are, Birmingham. So we'll be tagging Jackson Claude in that one. But yeah, I'm headed to Birmingham in the morning and I'm going to be there for a whole week for lay wedding weekend. And I'm so excited. So yeah, I've been doing well. Just like in full on prep mode for the most part. Also have just been like neck deep in hanging out with teenagers because we've had a bunch of like church youth ministry things going on. And I had to share this because I thought it was so funny. So we do Sunday school for our middle schoolers. We do it like every other month on Sundays. And our youth pastor did a message called like the pick me girls, and he said like you can insert pick me girls or boys, but like being a pick me person. And he had all of the middle schoolers, he was like, what is a pick me girl or a pick me boy, like what do they do, what do they act like or whatever. And one of the girls raised her hand and she goes, he like acts like a bop. I was like,
A
huh?
bop? I thought a
A
bop
bop?
was a
I
song
thought a
that
bop
we
was a
liked.
good song. Okay, well, I'm glad I'm not the only one. I just wanted to run that by you because I didn't know what she meant by
I'm scared. Are we that behind? I thought a
we
bop
are.
was a good song.
No, apparently a bop is a pick me boy.
Well, now I feel old. I
Let's
always
see.
felt old, but like, I thought a bop, like, oh, that's a bop. Like, I thought bop was a good thing, but now it sounds like bop has a negative connotation.
Yeah. And see, even when I Google it, it says balance of payments. And I don't think that that's what she meant. Oh, here we go. Okay. What does
Okay.
bop mean on TikTok? Gen Z redefines the word.
Thank
The
you.
meaning of bop refers to a man or woman who posts their body on the internet or someone who gets around with everyone. Oh my gosh. Sister, don't be talking about this in Sunday school.
I'm
Okay.
screaming. So
I'm
someone
screaming.
who like posts like thirst traps and gets around is a
Yeah.
bop.
The fact that she said that out loud.
That's hysterical, honestly. No,
She had to have known that none of us knew what she was talking about.
had to. Had to. Now, can a bop be a man or a woman? Is that male or
Yeah.
female?
Yeah, it was man or
Okay.
woman.
Good to know.
Yep. So interesting things around here. But yeah, I had a fun weekend full of lots of friend time, lots of people time, having people over. Went to the Rockies and Dodgers baseball game, which was actually so much fun because Calvin loves any kind of sports that involve a ball. And so he was super excited to be there. And are you following like the MLB stuff with the really talented guy that's supposed to be
No,
like the best player in all history or whatever?
yeah, so I saw in Christian stories that he was there for, is it like Ohani? Is that his
Yeah.
last name? Yeah, and
Mm-hmm.
he's like the only member of the 50-50 club. I think it's like 50 home runs and 50 stolen bases. But he
Maybe.
did something that was a big deal. I need to look up what is the 50. And my question about the 50-50 club is like, did he just, because there's no other members, is he just the only member? Like, if I'm the only member of a club, do I just create a new club because I'm the only member?
Yeah, I don't. It's not feeling
I don't
like
really
it's
know what that
club.
means. But okay,
Yeah.
let's take it. What is it? Let's look. Okay, yeah, okay, that's what it is. Otani, not Ohani, child. Otani
Oh,
had already etched his name in baseball lore with the first 50 home run, 50 stolen base season in MLB history. The closest
wow.
player to have reached the two thresholds was Alex Rodriguez in 1998 with a 42-46 season. But he created the club. But it's like if I have, I don't know, if I like make up like an arbitrary achievement, like if I respond to all like 10 emails in an hour, did I just join like the 1060 club? Like 10 emails in 60 minutes? Like you just make any achievement and make it a club if you're the only one?
I suppose I wouldn't compare that quite to what Otani is doing, but
No.
yeah, it was great. He didn't like do anything extravagant while we were there, but Christian kept saying that like it's such a big deal because he is he's only I think like 3 seasons into his career, and so he's this good and he's still like very very young for his career. But we got one of our friends her sister works for the Rockies. So we had like third row seats right by third base. So it was great seats. And Christian is literally like fangirling over this man and is like zooming in on him and like taking photos. And he was having a blast. So that was a lot of fun. Had some friends over last night. Did not get enough sleep this weekend. We stayed up way too late, way too many nights in a row. Christian literally got home at like 3:30 on Friday night. It was 2:30 because we have like a monthly student service, and after that they usually Calvin and I will go home after service, and then Christian has to help like take down and stuff, and they'll usually go out to eat after. I woke up at 2:30 and his location was still in Aurora. I was like, okay, first of all, you're in Aurora. What are you doing? There's literally like gang activity happening in Aurora. Why are you out at 2:30 in the morning? But I called him and was like, what are you doing? Get home. And he was just acting a fool, just with his church friends.
I was going to say, with the church friends, like,
it's fine. Like, you're a grown man. As long as you can get up and be a dad the next day, I don't care what you do. So.
That was one of the things I learned from a colleague of mine is whatever you do, like, you got to ring the bell the next day. Like, whatever you're going to, whether it's like staying up late with the church friends, or he was really talking about it in the context of like going out and drinking, whatever. He's like, rule number 1, you got to ring the bell. Like, that means you've got to be the first person in, like 6 a.m. Like, if you're going to go out and do whatever you want to do, you just got to ring the bell in the morning. So now anytime I'm like, I stay up late, but I have to wake up early the next day, I'm like, gotta ring the bell. Gotta ring the bell. Gotta ring the bell.
Exactly. And that's just, it's part of being an adult. It's like, don't stay out late on Friday if you can't perform your duties on Saturday, you know?
It's the price we pay.
So
it's getting old.
It's tough out here.
Getting old.
But speaking of getting old, it's Sarah's birthday episode of sorts.
It is. We're recording this pre-wedding. We're recording this pre-wedding because funny enough, I will be on my honeymoon on my birthday. So when you guys are listening to this,
not really.
No, literally. So when you guys are listening to this, I will be on somebody's beach, which I'm so excited about. I was at work, and me and a few of the guys were talking about like trips and anniversaries and gifts and stuff. And most of the guys I was talking to, they're all pretty newly married. And one guy was like, yeah, my anniversary and Valentine's Day are always going to be on the same weekend, which is like, I love that. I love that. It's great. And I was like, oh, really cool. Like, cause my anniversary and my birthday are always going to be on the same weekend. And he was like, ooh, not the same. And I was like, what? And then like one of the other guys was like, your birthday and your anniversary are the same day, the same week. And I was like, yeah, it's the same week, but like, why is it that big of a deal? And they're like, God bless your husband, because he was like, at least Valentine's Day, like I could get away with like flowers, a card, and quality time. Like Valentine's Day doesn't have to be anything big, but like birthdays, you are like the soul. Like Valentine's Day, everyone all over the country is celebrating. You just feel the love in general. But like your birthday is a plain and average day to everyone except for you and now your spouse. So not only there's no flying under the radar with the birthday. Like they've got to go nuts for the anniversary. And then he's got to turn right back around 6 days later and go nuts for the birthday. And I was like, wow, when you say it like that. So then like that night I was asking Jay, I was like, yeah, I mean, these people at work were saying this, like, but like, you think it's great, right? And he was like, it's a lot of pressure in 1 week. He's like, what am I supposed to do with for your birthday in Mexico? He's like, I don't have any resources. I don't have any supplies. Like, what am I supposed to do?
Literally. Okay, I can guarantee you if he called the resort and was like, my now wife of like 5 days, her birthday is on this day. I need you to do something. I don't care what you do, but you got to do something. They would
just figure it out. No, they would. And I told him, I was like, figure it out. But next year, I did tell him, I was like, because it'll be our first anniversary, our 1 year anniversary, and my 30th birthday.
Oh,
all in the same week. So I'm like, big. So we're going global. Yeah. We're going international.
I don't know what we're doing, but we're going global. We're getting on a plane.
We're going to the moon. Actually, you're putting me on a rocket ship. We're going to the moon. Like, that one's going to be a big one. So I do feel like, but I'm excited though I think it's cool that my birthday years and my marriage years will start to like, they're going to be on the same week. So like, I'll have that kind of passing of years and passing of time, like overlapping. I don't know. I think that'll be kind of cool.
Yeah. Because I mean, can relate. Mine's a week, I think like 8 days apart. So it's, but it definitely is like it's a thing where it's like, Christian's planning something for my birthday, and then one of us are planning something for the anniversary the next weekend usually. And so if both of those are falling on his plate, it's kind of a lot. But
Love
sorry.
ya.
Sorry
Love
about
ya.
it.
Exactly.
Nothing I can
I'm
do
gonna
about
bring
it.
you literally. I'm bringing you good and not harm all the days of your life. Like, hello.
The least you
I
can
can
do
get
is celebrate me. Exactly. But well, that's so exciting. That's so much fun. 29. The big
29, girl.
Yeah. I love that. Let's do call us content consumers because I don't even know if we hit that last episode.
I don't think so either. I think we were so excited about wedding advice.
Yeah.
Call us content consumers. I am loving. Let me figure out. Let me look at the name. Okay, Calm Down with Erin Andrews and Carissa Thompson. I feel like I've talked about this maybe one other time on the podcast before. And I was listening to it for a while, but then I fell off. And I think I fell off because it was like the end of football season. So it wasn't as like sports relevant. But they're back. Football's back. Obviously, NFL is back. And Carissa Thompson, I think they both work for Fox. I think Carissa does like a Sunday morning show, and then she also does Thursday Night Football on Amazon Prime. And then, of course, I feel like Erin Andrews is such a household name. She does sidelines for Fox, I think, mostly like with the Cowboys and in the NFC, I think. But it's actually really funny. The language is like a little bit like I would put some like advisory over it, but it's mostly just like behind the scenes of their like prep and like game to game in the NFL season. Like what they're packing, what they're doing, what their travels are like kind of like the inside jokes with like Erin is now working on the same crew as Tom Brady. So what that's like. And I've talked about it on this podcast before. Like I actually really think Erin Andrews is super cool, mostly for how like transparent she is about surrogacy. And I didn't know this, and let me not like lie on my podcast, but like Erin Andrews cervical. Yeah, she had like cervical cancer, I think. Yeah.
Wow. No,
She was diagnosed with cervical cancer in September 2016. And I think that all played into why they had to go the surrogacy route. And now she has a son, but talks about like her mom guilt of being away so often during the football season. But yeah, I think that they're just like they're funny, they're girls, they're cute, but also it's the sports tie-in, and we're in our sports era. And also, I guess content I've been consuming low key is NFL football. But for a podcast sake that I would recommend to you guys, the Calm Down podcast with Erin and Carissa is pretty good. I like it.
I love that. That sounds so fun. Mine is extremely different, but I also want to touch on the whole like mom guilt concept too, because I was listening. This is not the podcast that I'm choosing to talk about, but I was listening to a podcast the other day where the girl was talking about like instead of using the term mom guilt, she chooses to frame it as like mom jealousy. So like when she has a nanny that takes care of her 3 boys, or I can't remember if it's all boys. Anyways, but whenever the nanny is with them and like takes them out to do fun things and is sending pictures and videos and everything, she's like, it's not that I feel guilty because I see that they're having a great time. I'm just jealous that I'm not with them. Like I want to be at the museum having the time of their lives with them. But I am not. I'm working. And so, but they live in like a really expensive part of California. So she's super open about like, we have a 50-50 split when it comes to income. So if we want to live where we live and live the life that we live, like I don't have an option but to work. So I think but it's like kind of like what you're saying with Erin Andrews. It's always really cool when people are open about stuff like that.
Yes.
Because it's so easy to just look at people and think like, oh, you're just like kind of like riding on the back of your husband's income and he must make $1 billion a year and you just get to like chill at home. But like most people, especially in the public spotlight, have help in some form or fashion. So
totally. It's what we talk about all the time. Like we don't demand that you tell us if you have a nanny, but like we do think it's cool when people say, we think it's cool. We don't demand it, but we do think it's cool. The weirdos are the ones who demand it. You guys are weird, but like,
right. Yeah. Please don't demand anything from people just because they have an Instagram following.
Right.
That's
so
really strange. Really strange. But
anyway,
my content consumers, short one is I've been watching Gilmore Girls and it's just so wholesome and precious.
Really?
Have you ever watched it?
Never, but I've heard such good things.
It's so cute and like just so many. All the characters are so lovable. So it's like a perfect fall show to get into if you're like in the autumn vibes, which as we all know, I definitely am. I walked outside this afternoon. It was a whopping 73 degrees, and I said, "It's time for a sweater. It's time." But what I have been really into today is a podcast called Let's Get Dressed, and that's why I said it's so different from you said
Wow.
about Erin Andrews.
Okay.
But it's so cute. It's like it's this girl who's in the, I don't know if she's like a fashion journalist or what she
I'm gonna
does.
look it
I'm
up.
looking it up right now. Her name is Liz Perez, I want to say is her name.
Let's get
Liv Perez, Liv Perez is her
Oh,
name.
cute.
And she just does, it's a whole podcast on just like trend predictions, like things that she's excited about coming in the fashion, like coming into the cycles of styles and trends in like coming seasons, because she's all at all the fashion weeks and everything. So it's just cool to listen to her and like get inspiration for outfits and colors and things, and just like ideas for dressing in the seasons to come. So a good light listen, but I really
I
enjoy
like
it.
that. I feel like I would benefit from that. And I think that's so, like, I get it now why the gals say, like, making a capsule wardrobe, so to speak, because I do think that, like, once you have a handful of just really interchangeable pieces, you really don't have to buy, like, just because seasons change, you don't have to really buy new clothes. Like,
Right.
if you have, like, a good pair of black pants, a good pair of jeans, couple of blazers, like tanks, tees, button downs, like when the seasons transition, you don't have to buy a whole new wardrobe because you like have this capsule wardrobe that you can mix and match with, which
Yeah.
I feel like I'm experiencing that for the first time, like going from summer, spring into fall. Cause I usually like, frankly, I usually like buy all new clothes going into the new season because I never have really known what to wear, what to do. But this year, like figuring out how to dress the way that makes sense for me, I'm like, oh, I really don't need that much stuff. Like, I really don't need a lot. Like, I have a lot in my closet, lots of neutrals, lots of things that I can like pair with. And so I'm always looking for more inspo. So I would listen to that. Let's
Yeah.
get dressed,
And
shall we?
yeah, I really appreciate the way that she talks about, as you're like getting new pieces for new seasons, it doesn't give like the fast fashion vibes of like, oh, you've got to stay on top of what's trendy now. Cause she openly says like, oh, this, that, and the other is trendy. So I usually gravitate like away from that. And so she's not necessarily like leaning into trends. It's more so like, I went to Fashion Week and I saw that burgundy is everywhere. And so I'm going for a burgundy nail. I might get like, if I need a new bag. And so I'm going to get like a burgundy suede bag or something like that. So, just leaning into it in different ways. That's like more mature, more like less, consumption obsessive,
Yeah.
and just like incorporating the colors and the styles into like your capsule wardrobe. So,
Which I think is so cool too, because it also makes it so much more attainable. So like,
yes.
for a while, red was the color. And now like, if it's going into like more of a burgundy, using like, you can buy a, $7 thing of nail polish that's burgundy, and like, you've achieved the trend, like, because your
Yeah.
nails are a part of your outfit, and
Yeah.
so I love that we are picking like colors that are in and cool, because it's so much easier and I think more attainable to like be like, if you want to be in on the trend, you can do your nails, you can do a bag, but you can also do like a little scarf, you could do like a like a tall sock that's that color, you could do like a bracelet or an earring, like you could do a small inexpensive thing that adds to your capsule wardrobe that might be a little bit like, nicer pieces or whatever, but you can pop in and out of the trend in like really attainable, affordable, I don't have to fully commit to it kind of ways,
Right. Yeah, exactly. I agree with that.
I feel like I'm cracking the codes. It's taken me I'm almost 29. When you guys are listening to this episode, I'll be 29. I feel like I'm finally cracking the codes, and you guys can't get me off of it. I do not care if the trends go back to skinny jeans and deep V cut Hollister shirts with the cami underneath. I don't care.
Which
you guys can't get me to go back. I won't.
Doesn't. No.
I am in my sweet spot, and I'll die here. You can bury me here.
You can bury me in my baggy jeans and little tiny t-shirt.
Exactly. Bury me in baggy jeans and a tiny top, because if it ain't broke, They'll fix it. Now, granted, it was broke for years like 0 through 28. So now that I am in this space at 29, can't tell me anything. I'm
I
gonna
love
dive
that
right
for you,
here.
though. I love that
Thank
for you.
you.
Well, this is
Thank you.
but this is a good segue because that's definitely something you figured out in 28. What are other things that you've been thinking through in like reflections on being 28 and going into 29?
I That's a really great question. I feel like I have like a handful of them that have just been kind of like I've been tossing over my brain for the last maybe month or so. You inspired me to start thinking about my birthday a little bit before my birthday. So I've probably been thinking about these for probably the last month, most of them. I think that what I've done better this year is allowing my 9 to 5 to occupy the proper amount of brain space. And I'm realizing that some of these things, like, you can't figure out if you're making any progress until you're in a situation. Like, it's not one
Yeah.
of those that, like, I can measure my progress like I'm measuring how tall I am. It's like I measure my progress based off of like stuff hits the fan at work. How do I
Mhm.
mentally, emotionally, physically respond? And
Right.
like this last week, stuff was hitting the fan. Like there was just a day where I just felt like everyone decided, okay, yeah, today's the day we're going to tell Sarah, like, bad, not good, not good enough, not finished, bad, bad. I was just like getting clobbered. And at the end of like, it was also the day before I was supposed to have lunch with Charmaine, one of my mentors, and I was going to have like a lunch with her, and I had a hair appointment all that same day. And like part of me was like the guilt part of me was like, no, I'm going to skip lunch. I'm going to skip my hair appointment. I'm going to stay at work. I'm going to grind. I'm going to do. But I was like, you know what? No, like work has its proper place. Like I had not a great day today, but I'm also not going to let it like make me sad or make me anxious. And don't get me wrong, like it wasn't perfect, but it wasn't like the full body freakouts that I have had in months, years past. So that felt like a good sign that as much as I have responsibilities and I care about my work and I care about my job and I care about being excellent, like not not letting that take up more space than it ought.
Mhm.
And like hear me when I say that too, because like some of like I was able to make a very like I was able to take a calculated risk, right? Like that was on like Thursday or Friday, something. Yeah, everything went down Thursday. I had plans on Friday. I knew I had all day Monday, but like this thing really had to be done by Tuesday. And so I was able to take a educated risk and say, I think that I can go to lunch and go to my hair appointment and still get all this stuff done. Do not hear me telling you to go to your hair appointment and not meet your deadlines at work. That's not what I'm saying. Meet
To
your
be
deadlines at
clear.
work. To be clear, skip your hair appointment if you're going to miss the deadline. Because at the end of the day, if you don't have money to pay for the hair appointment, it is for naught. So like
But when it's your wedding week
when it's your
and
wedding
you've
week,
had this planned,
listen,
I think that's a
I
time
was
to give
able to
yourself
take a
permission.
calculated risk and say, okay, I think that if I'm gone for, 3 hours total in the day, I think that we'll still be able to get it done. And lo and behold, came in on a Monday. Everything's going to get done. My team's amazing. We figured it out. Like, it's all good. But being in that situation and like not having the full body, like clenching up, like, then like
Mhm.
being able to still operate and move and be okay, like that felt good. And I want to like keep doing that. Like I want to just keep getting better at, hey, like if you're going to do anything, whatever you put your hand to, you got to like show up and be excellent at it. So like we can't shirk off, we can't like not be responsible, but we can just like allow work to have its proper place.
Right.
It's not that it has everything, it's not that it has nothing, but it should have its like proper place, you know?
Yeah.
So that's one of the things I've been thinking about. Yeah, just work. Duh, because that's all we talk
Just
about on
work.
here. Literally.
Just work. I feel
Um,
like though that actually kind of goes along with something that I was thinking about this week too, that it's such an ultimate sign of maturity when you are able to when you realize that you have the ability to like self-regulate your own emotions and to like recognize when your like bad tendencies are coming up and actually like whip them into shape before they actually come out. You know?
mhm,
I feel
dude.
like I've seen that in my own life happen in recent weeks when I'm like, I see that I'm starting to try to like be manipulative and like say something to try to get things to go my own way, or to like put myself in a position of I don't know if position of power is the right word, but I'll just use that terminology, like position of power, when it's like I like see that in myself. I'm like, let's tone that back. Let's not. So, but it's just like a good sign of maturity that you recognize when the emotions and like the tendency to clench up is happening, and you just don't let it.
You just don't let it. 100%. Like to be able to regulate is, I agree. Like it's finally it's coming in my late. It's coming in our late 20s. Finally.
Yeah.
And like I feel like we're just getting started. Which this is another thing, like talking about like just maturity. So one of the other things that I've just recently like become aware of, but I want to have better defaults when I am tired. So like usually like probably 6 months ago, like my default when I'm tired, when I'm stressed, is I want garbage. I want to eat garbage. I want to watch garbage. I want to listen to garbage. I want garbage. I want to rot. Like everything in me, like my natural desire when I am exhausted, I want to put on the trashiest TV show I can find, and I want to eat my weight in like ice cream or Reese's cups or some sort of candy, or like I just want to inhale bad things when I'm tired. And it's now that I've realized it in the last, probably 3 or 4 months, it is actually so hard because I'm finding myself tired very often. So number one, it's like obviously, you try really hard not to let yourself get to like that point of exhaustion, right? You try to like get good rest, have good rhythms of rest so you're not getting to that point, but like we're humans and we're going to get to that point. And like how can I better like protect myself from inhaling garbage? But like I think now it's cool because I'm cognizant of it. Like I can hear, see, I don't know what it is, but like I'm aware, like, okay, I really want nothing more than to go get like a large blizzard and eat my weight in ice cream and watch something horrible on TV. But I'm like, okay, I see it. I feel that. I'm going to make the opposite choice. I'm going to honestly, girl, drink some water. Like, I feel like going and getting a glass of water really helps. And then just like recognizing it, putting it away, shutting it down, moving on, listening to a like Sarah approved podcast. But like, yeah, I feel like what I do when I am like I'm running on fumes, what I do in that moment, I feel like is so pivotal. And like that's probably true for a lot of us. Like what you do when you're on fumes is probably so key. And like I want to get I feel like I've started to at least identify it, but I want to like have a good handle on it going into this year.
Yeah. And you say like it's so key to what? Like key to how the rest of your day is going to go, or like key to like the kind of person you're going to become, or both?
Yeah, I think it's like key to like the person I want to be. Like I don't want to be a person because really, I mean, and it's like not to like, I don't know, try to draw too many parallels because I think like, whether it's like alcohol abuse or drug abuse or anything like that, I think a lot of like I've always had like since we were 21, like I have always had the rule that like I do not like no sad drinking. Like no sad drinking,
so
no
true.
sad
No
eating.
stress drinking.
No stress drinking. Like to like drinking, or whether it's drinking or eating, or some people it's like drugs or pornography or whatever it is, like to turn to a vice when you're experiencing a negative emotion, like just trying not to do that because it's just that's not who I want to be. So like when we turned 21, like, and granted, like when we turned 21, obviously I was in college, but my first job after that was I was working as a TV news reporter. And like let me tell you, we had a lot of like bad days because they were stressful.
Moments,
but yeah, like a lot of sad things. Like I have literally like seen dead people. Like I've seen dead bodies. I've been on the scenes of shootings. I've been on the scenes where like you're hearing like moms like scream because their kid's dead. Like, but also like stressful. Like I've also been there when like a small town was literally the town square was burning to the ground. Like, robbers or like a criminal was on the loose, like a murderer is on the loose. Like just, and like we're all experiencing this together. So I think like the natural thing is like, let's go get a drink, like after all of that, it's just like, but I had that rule for myself, and like I would not let myself like have a drink, only happy drinks. Like if I'm gonna have a drink, it's because I'm happy, I'm high-fiving, I'm excited, I'm having a good time. but like not because I'm stressed, not because I'm sad. And I just think that like that's easy to say, and that's kind of like a duh thing with alcohol, and obviously it's a duh thing with drugs because like you can't do drugs, they're illegal. But like I think the same thing can be true for like turning to food or turning to like a show to like escape or whatever. Just like not letting your vice, whatever that is, be what you run to when you're like experiencing a bad emotion. It's just like kind of how I want to operate as a person, you know?
Yeah. There really is so much of maturity is like, I mean, I guess it's kind of what I said earlier, just like recognizing your own tendencies and reactions to things and just learning how to reel them in. I feel like I've learned that a lot now that we have like a full-blown toddler, because so much of parenting is knowing how to control your own reaction to things. And like toddlers are they get so like driven by your reactions, and they don't usually know if it's a good or bad reaction. And so if you like the thing that triggers me the absolute freaking most, like I get angry just thinking about it, is when Calvin throws his food on the floor. And because at this point he knows not to do that. And sometimes he will look me in the eye and like, and just throw it on the floor. And the way that I'm like, literally like short circuiting, like, stop. But like, I know that even if I'm like, Calvin, no, like yelling, he just takes it as like a big reaction and oftentimes laughs at me. So just learning to control your reactions, whether it's with a 16-month-old or in interactions with adults or yourself.
So like, so with that, because I'm interested, like babies, I mean, they just see that toddlers, like that's just a big reaction for mom. Like, is it happy? Is she mad? Is she sad? Is she happy? I don't really know. It's just a big reaction. So like, how do you get him to understand like, no, I'm actually not happy? Like, how do parents do that?
Everything that I've like read about and really what's worked, tried and true, it just takes a little bit. It takes more patience and more like trial and error with it, is like you have to show them what to do, because he understands what we're saying a lot more than he used to, obviously, but like especially when he was a year and younger, it's like they're just watching your actions. So like when we were doing the food thing, it was like we are going to all sit down together, you're going to watch us eat our food and like see that our food either goes on our plate or in our mouth. And then like as we're doing that, if he throws food on the floor, I say, no, your food goes on your plate or in your mouth, and like explaining it but using your hands and things like that. And then like with our dog, he loves to slap the living crap out of our dog, which is so sad. And poor Saint's been depressed since the day Calvin was born. Any parents out there with dogs, I know you can relate. But like instead of being like, Calvin, no, don't slap Saint, because when they hear don't slap, they still hear the word slap, so they're like, oh, slap, okay, slap. So we will say like gentle hands, use gentle hands with Saint. And so now he walks up to Saint and goes like this. Just use gentle hands. So it's more like displaying what they're supposed to do rather than saying like, don't do this. Does that make sense?
No, that does make sense. Wow. Like
It's
you're
really hard,
teaching him to not throw his food. Like if you don't teach him how to not throw his food, he's going to be 45 and throwing his food.
Literally picking up his broccoli mac and cheese and throwing it on the floor in a restaurant. Can you imagine?
That's actually so crazy when you think about like how God like entrusts people to become parents, and like every person on the planet, God entrusted somebody to birth them and bring them into the world or whatever. But like, if you don't teach him like how to share, he's going to be like 30 and being like, no, this is my stapler, like in the office or something, you know, like
mine.
Isn't that crazy?
So true.
And I feel like we all know a 30-year-old whose parents obviously never taught them to share. Like, that stuff doesn't just come natural. True. Like common sense is not common. I was talking to, was it my dad? I don't know. I was talking to somebody earlier this week about how like these days you've got to explain everything. Nothing is understood anymore. You can't just assume that anybody understands anything. Like, I feel like Jackie Hill Perry kind of popularized this thought, but like when people say like, I just want to thank God, like an award show or a sporting event, like I want to thank God, you got to say Jesus.
Which God are you talking about?
We don't know like, what you're talking about. Like you've got to say Jesus. Like we obviously, like nothing is just obvious. Like I think that I was listening to this other leadership podcast too about how like so much of miscommunications is like assuming it's obviously it's all assumptions, but like assuming that you don't have to explain something that you think is basic. Like I
Yeah.
think that this is like a no-brainer, like a duh. Like I could see a parent being like, "Well, duh, you share." Like duh, but it's like if you don't teach it, it doesn't show up. Like and it
Right.
also shows up in like when you're like whether it's the culture of your home or your relationship or your workplace or whatever. Like if you don't teach what you want, it does not show up. If you don't have to explain what you want, it doesn't happen. Like, and I think I tend to shy away from doing that because I'm like, I don't want to insult people. I don't want to insult your intelligence by explaining to you that you have to share. But it's like, would I rather insult somebody's intelligence or assume, like, do I want to insult you or do I want to assume something about you? And like, I guess I'm just gonna have to insult you. I don't know.
The amount of times that I ran into that exact same situation when I was like in management over people in my last job, where it was like, I know that you know. Like I say I know. There's in my head, there's no way that you don't know. But I'm gonna take this 5 minutes and I'm gonna get you on a Zoom call. I'm gonna explain this to you step by step and detail by detail. And you're probably gonna feel like I think you're an idiot because in this moment, if I'm honest, I kind of do. But I'm like, listen, you're gonna get written up if I don't explain this. The options
Oh,
right
literally.
now are I'm assuming that you didn't know the expectations, so I'm gonna explain these to you. Otherwise, if you already knew, I'm gonna go ahead and write you up. So
Right.
goodbye.
Which one is it?
Which
No,
one
and
is it?
I
Take your
so
pick.
feel that way with like when I'm stepping out like a project for some like, hey, I'm assigning you this. Handle it. When I say the phrase handle it, that means 100%. Not 99, not 98. When I delegate, baby, y'all should have never taught me how to delegate. You should have never taught me how to delegate because the way that I will delegate so fast, I'm like, handle this, handle it. And that's why I love like one of the guys that works on my team. When I say handle it, he knows what I mean. And
I
it's
love that when
handled.
people do that.
Like
I
it's
love that.
handled. And just love that. Just love that so much.
Yeah.
And I feel like there are other, not even just people that are on my team, but you just like people I work with, colleagues, and this isn't just even in my current job, but like just over the years. I feel like I've always, when I hear handle it, I'm like, oh, it's handled. Like 100%, it's locked in, it's done.
Yeah.
Don't even worry about it. Like I'll just show it to you when it's done. To me, when I
Mhm.
hear handle it, it's I'll show it to you when it's done. Other people, they're like, handle it. And they're like, well, I did everything except for like 20%. I'm like, that's in what world is that handling it? But it's like, okay, Sarah, no, it's on me because I didn't articulate what it means to quote handle it. You know what I'm
Handle it.
saying?
Let me take a second and define what I mean when I say
Right.
handle it.
Do it. It means I'm not going to think about it after
I'm not
this
thinking
moment.
about it anymore. Exactly.
I'm done. I am not, and I will not think about it until we're going to put a due date for 2 weeks away on this calendar. And I'm not going to think about it for 2 more weeks until I say, oh, hey, I have this with so-and-so right here. Get on the call with so-and-so. I expect so-and-so to be like, oh, that was done. It's done. It's
Handled.
finished. Handled.
Handled. Yeah.
I'm
So true.
But it's like I feel like this is also
everybody
just a
thinks this
symptom of
way.
just a very lazy generation, myself included, where it's like we don't want to. I'm like, I don't want to articulate what I actually mean. And it's like, if you want something, you have, I'll never forget this. So I was talking about my TV job and my best friend to come out of that time. Shout out to Reagan Spencer. You guys are going to, if you have you met Reagan before, Sav? You're going to get to meet her at the wedding. I think you guys are sitting together.
Oh my gosh.
Which I'm so her and her husband will be there, which I'm so excited about.
Cute.
But so she was I thank God for her. Like I was maid of honor in her wedding. I absolutely adore her and her husband. But so we sat back to back in the newsroom and I was working and I'm like such a sound effects girl. I'm like, like I was like making all these like anxious noises and she flips around and she's like my producer. So she's talking to me in my ears. Like she's organizing the whole show. Like she's brilliant. She flips around and she's like, I can only help you if you use your words. It's like, I'm so sorry. But I was like,
I'm just a girl.
I'm just a girl. I'm just making noises like this idiot. And she's like, listen, we can only help you if you use your words. And I'm like,
what is this crazy girl making these animal noises behind me?
but like since that day, I'm like, you know what? I can only like people can only help me if I use my words and I articulate to them what it means to handle it. So, yeah.
All's to say.
Also say, handle it.
Don't assume. Handle
Don't
it.
assume. Just you're better off insulting them. Don't assume about them. Insult them instead. But no,
what's next? What else?
Yeah. So this is probably. I mean, other than like obviously like being a wife question mark. Like I probably want to get better at that. You know, I mean, considering I haven't done it before. But I also I feel like before I was super stressed out. I think I texted you and G like a few, I don't know, weeks ago, months ago, and I was like, I'm just realizing I've never been married before and I don't know what to do. Does anybody have any content to recommend? And I don't think you responded, but Grace was just like the Bible. And I was like, okay. So not a book, not a podcast. Read your Bible.
That's on brand for Grace.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna read my Bible. But that's so true of even like my ladies in my Bible study. Listen, the number one thing you're going to get out of the WOW Bible study is read the word and do what it says. Listen. Yes, ma'am. Read the word and do what it says. Listen. I'm done. You ain't gotta tell me.
Done.
Yes, ma'am.
I feel like we've had this conversation like offline before about when you're talking about the ladies in your Bible study that like they are just so seasoned to the Bible that they're like, I'm just taking this for face value at this point. Like I'm not looking for any deeper interpretation. I'm just reading it and I'm doing what it says. Read
the word and do what it says. Like I think that's what's so beautiful though about like getting around people who look like me and who have loved God for a really long time. Because like sidebar, like I remember when we first got saved, I really do vividly remember like sitting on the floor of my dorm room in college and like telling God, like, I'm scared that I only did this because it's cool. And like I'm scared I only did this because it's trendy right now. So would you please keep me even when this stops being cool? Because we were in a time where like church was cool and like all the boys you wanted to date were part of your church and they had the skinny pants and the whoop whoop hair and like it was cool. And I remember just being terrified. I'm like, I love you. I think I'm choosing you for the rest of my life. I think I'm choosing to follow Jesus for the rest of my life. But like there's an outside chance I just did this because this is cool. And like I don't want that to be true. But like, would you keep me? And like, would you keep me in your family? Keep me in your sheepfold? Keep me in the boundary lines? Like, keep me even when this stops being cool. Yeah. And so I think that like it did my heart a lot of good to be in community with women that not only look like me, but like who God has kept through. I mean, gosh, some of them through segregation, through like really scary times to live in the South, through like ups and downs, and they've lived these just seasoned, beautiful lives where they've been married and they've lost spouses and they have kids and they have grandkids. They've lost children and they've lived these real lives, and like they still love God. They believe in living in community. They believe in the local church. They believe in serving others, and I think that like helped really sturdy and steady my heart that like, no, God, like I'm in it for the long haul. Like I'm in it because these ladies have been in it and like I'm going to be in it. And so I think that was like just this encouragement that I needed. Cause like 9 years ago when we first started this thing, I was like, whoa, like, I don't know if I'm going to make it. I was like, I don't know if I'll still be here, you know? But just to see that like people do make it and people are faithful for their whole lives. And like, it's such a beautiful thing. And even when you hear about like going to a church where like the majority of the population is a whole lot older than you, like you hear a lot more about funerals and you hear a lot more about people getting sick and you hear a lot more about people passing away. But like the church, like rejoicing because like that person was like faithful and like they know where that they lived a good life. They know where that person's going. They know that they're with their Father in heaven. Like it's just such a fresh, cool perspective. And now I'm going to a church with like, you know, Liv. It's I think a lot younger congregation, but I do think it was a really cool, like really beautiful season to be a part of my WOW group. Those ladies, they are the cutest in the world. They all came together and got me a KitchenAid mixer off my registry.
So sweet. Angelic.
Isn't that the best ever? Like,
That's amazing.
just so cute. I just love them.
That's so precious. And it really is.
Yes.
I feel like every time I hear stories from that group, it just reminds me that we I feel like we all go through this time in our like faith journey or like just experience of growing in the Lord where like you want to go deeper and you like want to have this like more complex understanding of things whatever, but it seems like the older you get the more it's like no, you really are just like it gets simple. It doesn't get easier, but it gets simpler and simpler to just like
100%.
just read the word and do what it says
Just
and
read the
stop
word.
being so darn stubborn and stop insisting on asking questions. And like that mindset, I recognize that people might hear that and think like, oh, like just read the word, do what it says, and don't ask questions. Like I understand people can hear that and think like that sounds oppressive and toxic, but it's like when you know God, like when you genuinely know and love God, like it's out of a trust. It's out of like a loving trust. Like if you have
100%.
a good dad on earth and your dad, like, you know that your dad was telling you to do things when you were little because you just didn't know any better. It's the same concept. So I hope
It
anybody who
totally
doesn't
is.
believe in the Lord that heard that didn't hear that and think like, oh, that sounds oppressive. Because it
No, and
doesn't
I
feel
think that
oppressive.
no, it doesn't. I think that you're totally spot on, and I think that like God invites our questions. Like
Yeah.
I think that for anybody who like maybe is interested, I think that God, hey, bring it. Like God's not afraid of your questions.
Not
Like
afraid of them at all.
God is
Yeah.
not like he's not afraid. He's not unprepared. I think that what we're talking about is like after 9 years, and then like these ladies in my Bible study, after decades, like you get to a point where I've asked a lot of my questions.
Yeah.
And I still have more questions to go, but like I've I think some people maybe like the blind trust is easier. Like for me, blind trust is a whole lot easier. Like,
Mm-hmm.
listen, I'm gonna go with Jesus. And no one can really tell me anything different. Like it's easier for my personality, I think, to like, hey, I'm choosing Jesus and like whatever. But like other people who like have a more like interrogatory, like they want to interrogate it a little bit more,
Yeah.
like you're allowed to do that. And
Mm-hmm.
like over time, like God will show you that like he can stand up to all the questions and like he's still the best thing ever on the other side of your questions. And then Lord willing, like you ultimately get to a place where there is, like Sav was talking about, like you just trust and you
Mm-hmm.
just trust and you just believe. And even if there aren't answers for your questions, like on this side of heaven, like you're able to just read the word and do what it says because you learn. Like you're not like this isn't, especially at the beginning, like it's not about what you can and can't do. To me, it's about like learning about who God is, because I feel like he's like the ultimate, like to know him is to love him. So once you know him, then you'll love him, then you'll trust him, then you'll just want to read the word and do what it says, because like why wouldn't I? This guy loves me and he gave everything for me, you know?
Yeah, exactly. And it's like the don't ask questions is like, yes, you eventually kind of get to a place where you don't, it's okay if the question isn't answered. But I feel like a lot of times for both of us, it's like God's like, you already know the answer to that. You just have an attitude problem. So stop asking
Mhm.
questions and just do what I told you to do.
No, literally. I mean, that's just my father fathering me the way that he knows he needs to is,
Right.
Sarah, you're looking at me and I'm looking at you, but I already then told you. Like I told you this literally 6 months ago. Like, what are we doing? And I'm like, can you repeat it?
Exactly.
Because like I don't remember. And it's like I fully know. I'm like, well, are you sure?
Fully
Like,
no. Exactly. Oh my gosh.
but the last one that I was thinking through, actually came pretty recently, just from this past 2 Sundays ago, maybe, like the last time I was at Liv and PM. I'm getting used to calling him PM. Yeah, that's right. I'm part
Cute.
of Liv. PM, Pastor Mayo. But PM preached this great message, and like it was Liv's 2-year anniversary, and the text was Ephesians 3:20 through 21. Now to him who's able to do immeasurably more than we could ever ask or dream or imagine, and da da da. To him be the glory forever and ever, amen. But like this thought of like what you can imagine, you can manage. Like if I can imagine it, I can manage it. And I've noticed in my own head and in my own thoughts, like I will try to solve a problem before it's a problem. I will have the conversation in my head before the conversation needs to be had. And like I'll manage best and worst case scenarios in my head, but it's almost like God, like I don't want I don't want to be able to manage my best. Therefore, like I need to like rein in my imagination. Like I don't want my imagination to run wild with scenarios that I can manage. Like, okay, what if this happens? And then if this happens, and if this happens, and if this happens, we just do this and we carry the two and we subtract four, and then boom, like, yeah, 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 this all works. This all works. And it's like I'm imagining all these things. But like if I can imagine it, then I can manage it. I can control it. I can move the pieces around. But it's like, no, like scripture says, like to him who's able to do immeasurably more than I can imagine. So it's like, if I want the immeasurably more, I've got to take it outside of a realm where I can manage and control it.
Right.
And it's no longer now like, okay, I've imagined this game plan and this strategy. Okay, God, would you come in and just put your little blessing, little kick on it, and I'll just move the pieces. And it's like, no, 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 no. Like, I've got to let go of it so that it can be bigger and it can be the immeasurably more. Because if it's enough to fit in my brain, it's enough for my hands to move around. But if I like let go of trying to make it fit in my brain, then I get God's best, which is outside of my imagination,
Right.
And so I've just been like over the last couple of weeks, like having that thought and like using that as, I think it's like similar sentiment to the, like, taking every thought captive language, but like, it's almost like the promise of like, I don't know if it's a promise, but like God's able to do more than I can do in my own head. So like, why would I be okay with what I can do in my own head? Well, I'm okay with it because I can control it. And like
Right.
my control freak gets to move the pieces around, gets to manipulate the pieces around. But like God's best is like on the other side of like breaking the parameters of my brain and therefore the parameters of my control. And so like just kind of taking the strategy sesh that I have with myself on the daily about a myriad of issues or topics or whatever, like stop strategizing. Like I think it's a strength for me. Like I think I'm pretty good. Like I think I have a pretty, I'm able to kind of strategize and plan and game plan and whatever. And I think that that's a strength, but like I want to see that strength like sanctified in a way going into this year of like, I want to stop like the solo strategy sesh that happens in my head. Because at the end of the day, like I'm the only one that's moving around those chess pieces. Whereas like if the strategy can fit in my head, that means like there's no room for God to move around those pieces. So that's like a fairly new thought, but it's a thought that I'm like excited about going into this year.
Yeah, no, that's good. That reminds me of I don't know if you ever watched this message from, I think it was Beth Moore preaching at Passion Conference back in like maybe 2017 or something like that. But she did this little bit that I think I'll remember for the rest of my life. And she was talking pretty much exactly about what you're saying, that we in Passion, for any of you guys who are not familiar, Passion Conference is like a college young adults conference. And so a lot of like 18 to 24-year-olds. So it's amazing, but I think a lot of us in that age tend to we want to put a pin in what we are called to do with our life. And so she did this whole bit on like, you all want to say, I'm called to pastor. No, I'm called to be a missionary. No, I am called to do this. And like because you sound more honorable and you sound to your parents and to your grandparents like, oh, well, at least they haven't figured out what they want to do, rather than being willing to say like, I don't know what I'm going to do with my life. I'm just like at the mercy of whatever God calls me to do in whatever season that I'm and that like the concept that in 30 years, the thing that you are going to be doing in 30 years, you would probably run screaming in the other direction if God told you that's what you were going to be doing in 30 years. Or like that thing might not even be invented yet, So just crazy to think about the whole like immeasurably more thing that we do like to try to control it and like put a name to things. But like there's literally things that we could be doing in 2 decades that aren't even invented yet by the human mind.
Yeah.
So
No, it is. And it's like, if I can like stop trying to make stuff fit in or like thinking, okay, well, this is the problem. These are the 3 possible solutions. I've been turning this over in my head for a month. these are the 3 possible solutions. And it's like, did you not consider number 4, which is God just hasn't told you? Like, you know, like, what? Who am I to think like I have
you
captured?
considered?
Have I considered that there is a God of the universe who is sovereign and all knowing and all powerful and all present, that he might have a 3rd solution or 4th solution in addition to my 3 that I've managed to come up with? And, you know, it's like I come up with these 3 solutions. And I'm like, God, I'd be good with any of these. If you could make one of these happen, thank you so much. Appreciate it. Love you. Bye.
Here's your
And
options.
it's like, here are
Choose
your
wisely.
options, God, to execute on my behalf. And it's like, what are you saying? Like, have you not considered, Sarah, that maybe there is another choice that has nothing to do with you? Like, you are not a part of, you're not privy to. All like God asked you to do is like show up, surrender your situation, read the word, and do what it says. Okay.
Do what it says, sister.
Do what it says.
Yeah. So true.
So those are my 29 thoughts. You know?
Love that. I love that. I have one more question to ask you that I feel like will be a
Please.
good wrap up question. So you're turning 29, 1 year until 30. Where in your life do you still feel like I'm 20? And where in your life do you feel like, no, I feel 30? Like, I feel like I'm ready in this part of my life to like, I could call that 30. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes so much sense. That's a great one. I feel like an area of my life where I'm 20, my temper tantrums. If I am, it's not even necessarily a temper tantrum, but like when I get mad, I'm like, this is an idiot, and this person's an idiot, and like I just get mad, and I'm like, you're dumb, you're an idiot. Like the way I just get mad, and I just show my tail because it's like, okay, Sarah, calm down, like shut up, you know, like relax. Like when I call you and I'm screaming at the truck that honks their horn at me and saying that they did it on purpose, that's 20. Like, please God, let me grow out
We're
of that.
leaving that in 20.
Like, please, Lord, like I've got to grow out of that because I can't do that in front of my children. You know, like I can't, like cannot do that in front of my future kids. So my outbursts are probably very 20. But I think that what is very 30, like not much. I have to think pretty hard. I think what 30 is, I think probably the flip side of being like what we were talking about, like being able to self-regulate a little bit better. And I think like just the maturing thing, like my favorite quote right now, like, what are you willing to give up to be great? Like understanding that not everything can happen all at once. And there are some things that like, if you want to get where you're going, there are things that you have to say no to. There are things that you have to make adjustments and things have to prune and things have to get cut off. And like, that doesn't always feel good, but like embracing. And I think at first I was a little like peeved. I was like a little like mad that I had to say no to some things. But I think that like the 30 in me is like, okay, like I get it. And like, I'm ready. Like, I'm good. I'm good with saying no to some things to be great. Like to be first, like just like a great follower of Jesus, but also after that, like a great wife and a great friend and a great church member and a great, you know, sister and a great daughter. And like, you know, like knowing that there are some things that you can't take with you when you're wanting to grow up a little bit. And like being okay with that. So yeah, I would say outbursts, very 20. But willingness to mature is probably 30.
Love that. I love that.
Yeah.
It's like the start to a journey. Like we're like on our way to maturing, and we're
totally.
that the willingness to be on our way.
Yes.
It's very 30.
That's
very
what it
30.
is. It's not the arrival, but it is the I'm not kicking and screaming.
Yeah.
I was kicking and screaming a little bit ago, but I am not kicking and screaming.
It's progress. I love it.
Progress.
Aww. Well, happy birthday, sister. I'm
Thanks.
not going to be texting you on your birthday because I will not text you on your honeymoon.
Thank you. Oh my gosh, will you do what I did? So guys, when Sav was on her honeymoon, I kept a note of all the things, all the random thoughts and things that I needed to tell her. One of them being like, why does Jonah Hill look like a chubby Christian Chavez? Like I was like, Jonah Hill is like the chubby version of your husband. Like those were the kinds of thoughts I had on this note. And when she got home, I sat her down and I made her listen to me read through everyone. I swear there had to be like 50. Like of every thought I ever had.
It was a long list. I'm like in this moment, I'm currently like panicking at the thought of like, what if my life like blows up when you're gone? What if like I'm being really vague with this because this is on a public platform, but like, what if everything that's happening in our life right now like comes to a T when you're on your honeymoon? I'm like,
that would be so honestly hateful for the parties
honestly,
involved.
Honestly,
Like,
so rude, God. Like, can we not? Can it
that
happen
would be-
before or after? Preferably
Please.
after. I really don't
Like-
want to bother you with it this week either, but
I know. I better this week than next.
I know.
Better this week than that.
Holy.
Literally, so much is in play at this moment. I just need to press. This is where I need like a life remote. Like, I just need everyone to press pause on their
Wait,
lives.
just press pause.
I'm gonna go live my life for a week, and then I'll come back, and everyone can pick back up where they left off. No,
we can
truly.
press play again. So true. Well, anywho, all that to say, happy birthday. I'm so excited for this next week. It's gonna be so much celebration, and I hope that Jonathan does something really exciting and special for you on your birthday in at the beach. So
yes, I am.
Well,
and that brings me to my excited.
Is that you're excited?
My excited is that I get to be on vacation on my birthday. I've traveled home on my birthday before, but I've never like been on location for the B-Day. So I think that'll just be fun. And I'm just, like I said, you guys are listening to this while I am away, and I'm excited to just get away. I know I've said this probably 100 times, but like, to go off the grid with your best friend, like, how often do you get to do that? You know, I mean, even like people who've been married for a really long time, they're not taking like multi-night, long trips away just with them and their spouse. Like, I understand that some people do it really often, but most of the time it's probably kind of rare. So I'm excited that we get to kick off marriage like this. So that's what I'm excited about.
It's so fun. I am excited. I feel like I've already said a million times that I'm excited for like wedding week and all the celebrations. So I will keep it light and say that I'm so excited for the dinner that we're eating tonight because I made the best soup last night. It's like a broccoli cheddar chicken soup. I'm gonna have to send you the link to it so you can put it in the show notes because it's one of my most favorite soups I've ever made in my life. So I'm about to go eat those leftovers and I'm pumped about it. So
I love that with your freshly shredded cheese, because if you guys haven't listened,
absolutely,
she's crunchy.
I did it with the block cheese. No pre-shredded cheese over here.
None.
Absolutely not. I have a container of pre-shredded Parmesan in the fridge from a couple weeks ago that I wouldn't have bought by choice, and I'm like, I really don't even want to use it. So anyways, Parmesan's the worst. Like, out of all the cheeses, like, why is this one pre-shredded? Anyways, well, thank you guys for listening to another episode of the Call Me Thursday podcast. Be sure to like and subscribe on YouTube and follow us on Instagram at Call Me Thursday Podcast, and follow us on your podcast app so you never miss an episode, and leave a 5-star review and let us know why you're loving the pod. So Sarah, I will call you Thursday.
Sounds like a plan, sister. I'll call you Thursday. All right.
Okay,
bye.